In Activity 3, Setting Up an Aquarium, students add 2 types of water plants to their aquariums and learn the importance of plants to an underwater ecosystem. Students first examine the anacharis and duckweed and contrast water plants with land plants. Finally, they discuss the role of water plants in an underwater ecosystem and introduce the plants to the aquariums. You will need the following materials from the kit: Activity Sheet 3, aquariums from Activity 2, plastic dishes, magnifiers, anacharis, duckweed, and a plastic spoon. You will also need to provide Activity Sheet 2, black, yellow, and green crayons, white paper, medium-sized bowls, paper towels, and spring water. To prepare for this activity, make a copy of Activity Sheet 3 for each student. Each student will also need his or her copy of Activity Sheet 2. When the living materials arrive, the plants should be divided evenly between the 2 holding tanks established in Activity 2. On the day of this activity, place the anacharis in one bowl of spring water and the duckweed in another. Place the 2 bowls of plants, a jug of spring water, a plastic spoon, and some paper towels at a distribution station. Each team of 4 will need their aquarium from Activity 2, black, yellow, and green crayons, 2 plastic dishes, 2 magnifiers, and 2 sheets of white paper. To begin this activity, draw a picture of a plant similar to Figure 3.1 and have the class identify the roots, stem, and leaves. Ask students, what do you think land plants need to survive? Help students understand that land plants need soil, water, and sunlight. Then ask students, what do you think water plants need to survive? Students may know that water plants also need water and sunlight, but some water plants float and do not need soil. They get all the nutrients they need from the water. Tell students that in this activity, they're going to examine 2 types of water plants and add them to their aquariums. Divide the class into teams of 4 and distribute a copy of Activity Sheet 3 to each student. Return Activity Sheet 2 to students. Distribute 2 magnifiers, 2 plastic dishes, some crayons, and 2 sheets of white paper to each team. Next, bring students' attention to the plants at the distribution station. Tell students that anacharis and duckweed are 2 kinds of plants that grow in lakes, ponds, and slow-moving streams. Supervise students as they place a sprig of anacharis in one dish of spring water and a spoonful of duckweed in the other. Ask students to place their dishes on the white paper and examine the plants with and without a magnifier. Ask students, what does the anacharis look like? Students will observe that it's green and it has a long stem covered with leaves. Explain that in the wild, anacharis is rooted in the muddy bottom of a lake, pond, or slow-moving stream. Ask students, what does the duckweed look like? Students should answer that it is also green, but consists of tiny round leaves that float on the surface of the water. Some of the plants have thread-like roots that hang down from them. Explain that duckweed is a floating plant eaten by fish, snails, and especially ducks. Each green leaf is a separate plant, although some of the leaves may be connected. Tell students to color and label the pictures of the anacharis and duckweed on Activity Sheet 3. Then, compare these water plants to plants that grow in the land by asking, how are the anacharis and duckweed different from plants that live on land? Students may suggest that the anacharis and duckweed live in water. The duckweed has no stem, unlike a plant that lives on land, and the anacharis can survive without roots. Next, have students wash their hands and then retrieve their aquariums. Then tell them to add the plants to their aquariums. Plant the anacharis in the sand by stripping the leaves from the bottom inch of the plant and inserting it into the deep end of the sand slope. Allow the duckweed to float on the surface of the water. When students have finished, instruct them to add the plants to their drawing on Activity Sheet 2. Ask students, why do you think plants are important on Earth? Guide students to understand that plants provide food and offer shade and shelter to other living things. Explain that plants also help clean the air by taking in a gas in the air called carbon dioxide and give off a gas called oxygen. Animals breathe in the oxygen produced by plants and breathe out carbon dioxide. In simplest terms, plants and animals help each other breathe. Ask students, why do you think plants are important to an underwater ecosystem, such as a pond or an aquarium? Students may say that, like land plants, water plants provide food and shelter. Explain that even fish breathe oxygen that is dissolved in water. Water plants give off oxygen for the fish to breathe and take in carbon dioxide that the fish produce. Have students return the aquariums to their storage area, then turn on the aquarium light. Ask students, why have I turned on the aquarium light? Students should now know that plants need light to grow. Explain that the lamp will also act as a heat source to keep the water at a comfortable temperature for the fish and snails. To conclude the activity, discard the water in the plastic dishes and bowls. Collect the sheets of white paper and activity sheet 2 from students. Rinse and dry the dishes and spoon and return them along with the magnifier to the kit. For science background, reinforcement activities, curriculum connections, and information about the Delta Science Reader, please consult your DSM Teacher's Guide.